In the fall of 1915, with the First World War raging overseas, the white commander of the 106th Battalion, Nova Scotia Rifles, met with a black Baptist minister and made a promise he could not keep. Lieutenant Colonel Walter H. Allen told Reverend William White he would take on a black platoon into his regiment if the pastor and community leader could muster enough men. But a few weeks later, the commander informed his superiors in Halifax that white volunteers were refusing to sign their enlistment papers if they had to serve with blacks. Allen wrote that he preferred white soldiers and felt the best course of action was to keep the races in the military separate. The sentiment was common among the white military establishment, who turned away black volunteers by the hundreds across Canada. Letters were written on both sides of the issue, and about the time Allen wrote his, the Militia and Defense Minister Sam Hughes declared that there were to be no racial distinctions on enlistment. The matter was brought up in Parliament before the head of the militia, Major General Willoughby Gwatkin, himself a vocal opponent of an integrated military, proposed a segregated black battalion. Number 2 Construction Battalion, first based in Pictou, Nova Scotia, was authorized on July 5, 1916. Reverend White, the son of former slaves, would serve as the battalion's only black officer, bearing the honorary rank of captain as its padre. He would be one of about 8 black officers to serve in the Canadian military during the First World War, and he was a champion of black enlistment. 796 black soldiers are known to have served with the battalion overseas, and while Number 2 did not see frontline action, it filled key roles harvesting and processing the lumber that went into trench works, building and maintaining the roads and railways that got it there, and operating and maintaining water and electrical systems for the camps. 29 battalion members died while serving, primarily from disease and other illnesses. Between 400 and 500 black soldiers eventually served with infantry units of the Canadian Expeditionary Force, about 100 of them in frontline roles. At least 34 were killed in action. The black soldiers of the CEF included hundreds of volunteers from the United States and the Caribbean, including Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad, and other parts of the British West Indies. U.S.-born Charles Green, a private serving with the 10th Battalion, Canadians, is believed to be the first black soldier in the CEF killed in battle. He died from bullet wounds he took near Ypres, Belgium, in May 1915. Many black soldiers served with distinction. Some were decorated for their actions, others were not. Jeremiah Jones of East Mountain, Nova Scotia, was 58 years old when he crossed the bloody battlefield at Vimy Ridge and took an enemy machine gun nest. Jones captured a half-dozen prisoners and marched them back to the Canadian line, where he had them lay their weapon at his commander's feet. He was not recognized for his actions until 2010, when he was posthumously awarded the Canadian Forces Medallion for Distinguished Service after a campaign led by Nova Scotia Senator Calvin Ruck. Black veterans of the First World War would return to Canada and face the same racism they had encountered before they served King and Country. Canadian blacks were still segregated, denied quality jobs, and relegated in large part to menial work. Historian Melissa N. Shaw has written that while the war did not in itself transform prevalent white attitudes towards blacks in Canada, it did prove a transformative moment in the race politics that emerged afterward. Empowered by their wartime service, many blacks took a stand against racism and demanded fair treatment. In doing so, wrote Shaw, they were embarking on what was arguably one of the most arduous and unrelenting battles of the 20th century.